we're going to do a couple of breath practices. And what we're looking to do in this particular practice, which is called the Who breath, is lengthen the exhalation. Sometimes we feel that we're breathing up a little bit too high in the chest. And what we want to do is release that breath down into the belly. And if we think of the movement of our diaphragm, when we breathe in, it stretches and widens as the rib cage opens. And as we breathe out, it relaxes and domes up as the lungs empty. So this practice is really good to slow down the heart rate, release your blood pressure, take you out of an adrenal state and into a state of rest and digest. So what I'd like you to do is place your feet in a position where you feel supported through your feet. So maybe walking your feet forward a little bit so you feel this sense of pressing into the feet and then drawing energy into the hips and then finding a little lift up through the waist. We can just have a little play around with this rolling of the hips, just to check, make sure that we're neither dropping back between the midline or leaning forwards. You might like to alternate those two positions to find a place where you're sitting dead center between the sitting bones and feel this lightness through the spine. So in the Who breath, what we're doing is we're making a Who shape with our mouth as we breathe out. We're going to breathe in through the nose, and as we breathe out, we go. And this shape of our mouth, that Who shape, slows down the exhalation. We're also going to do quite a gentle out breath, so that, imagine you had a candle in front of you. You wouldn't be blowing out the flame of that candle. It's a gentle exhalation. And we're going to do 10 of these breaths and we're going to count them off on our fingers. So before we begin, just closing our eyes, bringing our attention to the breath, attention to our body. And then softening around the eyes, softening the jaw and the throat. And having this sense of minimum action of the muscles, but full support of the skeleton. So we can feel the shoulders resting on the rib cage. And we have this sense of sitting quite heavily into our sitting bones. And we're going to do our 10 breaths, so breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth with that Who shape of the mouth. And just counting off each of these breaths on your hand. Inhaling through the nose. Exhaling through the mouth. Taking your time, moving through these 10 breaths, feeling that sense of heaviness into the sitting bones as you breathe out. You've completed those 10 breaths. There's no hurry. Just returning to normal breathing. And then when you're ready, gently opening your eyes. And then we can do a practice with a 3-part breath. We can either do this lying down with our knees bent and the soles of the feet on the floor. That's quite a nice way to do it. Or if we're seated in a chair, we can place a blanket on the back of our chair. And we're going to focus on finding breath in these 3 parts of the body, so in the belly, in the chest, and up towards the collarbone. So just a note about breath as being quite a powerful thing, particularly when we're focusing on the inhale. We can think of the breath as being a bit like an electric current that we're bringing into the body. And if we bring it in too fast or too much, sometimes that can make us feel a bit heady, a bit dizzy, a bit headachy. So when you first practice, do some breathing practice, you really want to keep that, keep an eye on that. And then just doing as much as feels comfortable, but just stopping if it starts to feel a little bit overwhelming and just returning to normal breathing. So we're going to begin just leaning on the back of the chair and just bringing your hands to your belly, so you can rest your elbows on the back of the chair so it doesn't feel an effort to hold those hands in place. And with our hands on our belly, we're just going to close our eyes and we're going to notice as we breathe out that breath going down into the belly, and notice how the diaphragm is relaxing. And as we breathe in, notice this gentle expansion of the abdominal area. And the rib cage is fairly still. So just as with the in-breath, we don't want to exaggerate this too much. We don't want to kind of push the belly forward too far, but we're just noticing the exhalation sinking all the way down into the belly as we breathe out. And noticing how the belly feels as we start to breathe in. If your eyes are closed, I'd like you to gently open them. We're going to come and we're going to sit a little bit further forward on the chair, so we're no longer leaning on the back of the chair. Find that support of your feet, so walking the feet forward. Bring your hands onto the rib cage. And now we're going to focus more on the inhalation. So as you breathe in, can you feel the rib cage moving out to the side? And as we breathe out, feeling the lungs empty. And see if you can get a sense of the lungs filling with air and the lungs expanding into the rib cage, rather than thinking about the rib cage expanding. So as we breathe in, we feel the ribs moving out to the side, maybe your fingertips moving a little bit further away from each other. But also being aware of this capacity for the lungs to fill out to the back of the body. So the lower back expands, not the real lower back, it's kind of middle back. You feel a little expansion there as you breathe in. And then gently open your eyes. We're going to come to this final position of having our hands across our chests, hands on our collarbones. This time breathing all the way up to the top of the chest, which allows us space for a really nice long exhalation, that sense of dropping down into your sitting bones. Another nice way to lengthen this exhalation is to have a little pause at the end of the inhale. So as we breathe in, we're not holding the breath, we're just stretching that pause a little bit and then allowing that exhalation to sink down into our belly. So that pause may just be for a fraction of a second before we breathe out once more. Eyes are closed, just gently opening your eyes, releasing your hands down to your lap and just returning to normal breathing.